be interesting. Yes, it's that simple. Movie wars and a visit with a friend.
Welcome to the Hopefulist, a daily talk show hosted by veteran broadcaster Wendy McClure. Join Wendy each day as she shares her life lessons that transformed her from perpetual pessimist to the ultimate hopefulist. The perfect morning show to get you caught up on the day's top stories while sharing insights that will lead to positive transformation and bring out the hopefulist in you. For more inspiration, visit hopefulist.com. And now, here's your host and hopefulist, Wendy McClure.
Hello and welcome to Wednesday. It's April 29th, 2020, day 227. I've got to get on Ellen. And day 17 of hashtag Hopefulist Challenge. Are you taking the challenge? Are you following the tips and suggestions? Are you starting to feel better? Are you feeling a little more uplifted, a little more hopeful, a little more happy? I certainly hope so. Any feedback is always greatly appreciated. Constructive criticism, don't be mean. So Joe has finally come back to the bedroom. I miss the big old hunk of man. I told him to come on back. So last night was the first night we slept back in the same bed. Tucker, in her glory, back to sprawling right out so that she can touch both of us at the same time, smack dab in the middle. She was actually pretty funny. I don't think that she realized even that Joe was in bed at first. She's laying on the bed, cleaning herself, and Joe called her name, and she turned around like, whoa, what are you doing here? So we're trying to get back to a little bit of normalcy here. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. I'm a little nervous because I feel like we've taken all these precautions for all this time. And then if we come up short, like what if he finds out tomorrow that somebody at his work has the virus? And then I'm like, oh, great. All those precautions for all that time were for nothing. But I think we're all just getting to that point where we're like, oh, something's got to give. We've got to have some normal things back in our life. Speaking of which, I saw a friend yesterday in the neighborhood when she was walking her dog, and she was just like, I'm going crazy. I'm literally going crazy. I can't cook anymore. I've cooked everything I can possibly think of to cook. She's going out for long walks. And let me tell you, I know where she lives. This was a long walk that she took. And I'm like, isn't this a really long walk for you? She's like, yeah, no, that's okay. I need it. So good for her. I was a little disappointed in the weather yesterday. We were supposed to have a really nice day. And, technically it was a really nice day. It was bright. It was sunny. But this is one of the downfalls of living on the water in the springtime is depending on the direction of the wind. It was a very chilly wind that we were getting. I couldn't sit outside. I saw my neighbor sitting outside for a little while, and I was like, aren't you cold? She's like, a little bit, but I just got to get some sun on me right now. I just couldn't do it. It was too cold. So they're saying the weekend might be a little bit better. We shall see. But yeah, not looking great weather-wise for the next couple of days. So time to hunker down and just get some work done, right? For me, at least. So it was really nice to see my friend Lori yesterday. She was out walking her dog, Mowgli. Tucker was out on the porch. She was freaking out. Would not stop barking. Ugh, dogs. My husband usually says, Tucker, stop being such a dog. Some interesting news. AMC says they will no longer play movies from Universal Studios because Universal Studios just made comments that they will, from now on, be releasing movies to streaming as well as to theaters. Apparently, they had huge success with their current Trolls movie, and they feel they've made almost as much money releasing it through streaming than they would have if it were in the theater. There's a couple of things that go into this. One, the reason that it was so successful is because there was no option to go to the movies. AMC slapping back hard. Apparently, they have procedures in place. And part of their statement was that there was no good faith negotiations in making this decision. Universal just flat out said, we're going to start releasing our movies to streaming as well as theaters from now on. And apparently you need to, there are deals in place with these sorts of things. So, this will hurt AMC as well. Not, showing big, huge movies. I don't know. We'll see how it pans out. Universal has not responded yet to the news that AMC is now boycotting their movies. It'll be interesting to see because, like I said, there are procedures in place. There is a way to do business and there is a way not to do business. AMC obviously feels that Universal has skipped all of the business practices that are already in place and made a unilateral decision. And they're saying we're not going to stand for that. Movie theaters are hurting right now. I mean, obviously, they've been closed for 6 weeks. So, kind of feel a little bit bad for them. I don't know. Would you rather see a brand new movie at your house, or would you rather go to the theater to see a brand new movie? There was a time I would love going to the movies. I don't love it as much as I used to. The people annoy me. There's a lot of annoying people in the movie theater now. But I used to love to go to the movies. It was like an event. It was like, all right, we're going to the movies. We're going to get some popcorn and a big, huge soda that's bigger than my head and sit back in the darkened theater, and it's really loud, and sometimes you feel the shaking, and it's an event. It's, something you do, not just something that you watch. If movies were all available on streaming at the time of release, I am sure that I would see many more movies. Because what happens with me is I forget about them. When the movies are coming out and they're showing commercial after commercial after commercial, I'm like, oh, man, I really want to see that. But then by the time they come out of the theater, they go to DVR or on demand, and then eventually like on HBO and that sort of thing, they don't really promote it like they did when it was first in the theaters. And I get it from a business standpoint. It's just not really worth their while to do that. But what happens is I forget about it. There is like a handful, well, way more than a handful. There's a whole list of movies that when it first came out, I'm like, oh, I've got to see that. And then I just completely forget about it. So I definitely think that I would see a lot more movies if they were streamed directly to my house on initial release. But yeah, going to the movies is like an event. And I don't think that that's going, this COVID-19 is going to change that. I think people still love to go to the movies. I think people will go back to going to the movies. But I think a lot more people probably will purchase movies if they're available in your home initially. Just my 2 cents, just what I'm thinking on the topic. Speaking of topics, I have one myself today. Today we were talking about, what were we talking about? We're talking about new hobbies. Is there a new hobby that you have started while in quarantine? I personally haven't really started anything new. Like I said, quarantine hasn't been that different for me. I was already working from home. I'm obviously not meeting friends out for coffee or going to happy hour or doing any shopping or anything like that. But a lot of people are starting new hobbies. So here are some of your new hobbies that you have discovered and taken up or retaken up while you've been in quarantine. Michelle says, paint by number, and she posted a painting, which is really awesome looking. I love it. Val says laziness. Okay. Lisa says eating. Kate says binge watching. I was never one to get into a series or sit and watch TV for hours. Unfortunately, now I am quite good at it. Lori says rock painting. Yeah, have you noticed all the rock paintings around your neighborhood? It's very big in my neighborhood right now where people are painting rocks with little inspirational messages and just placing them throughout the neighborhood for people who are going on walks. And somebody had actually posted a bunch of pictures from a walk they had gone on in our neighborhood on the Hopefulist group page. It was Saturday or Sunday. If you want to go take a look at that. Marcy says, not totally new, but I found a half-finished latch hook rug kit in the closet and started working on it. My gosh, I did latch hook rugs when I was a kid. Haven't done it since. Sandra says she's crocheting a blanket. I think that she just picked up where she left off on an old one. Megan says homeschooling. I don't know if that's actually a hobby. And Jim says yes, not running somewhere all the time. And it's been glorious. But I've participated in several drive-by birthday parades. I'm kind of liking them better than regular parties where you have to stay and pretend to be interesting. Just drive by and honk and go home. I love it. He's the most social antisocial I've ever met in my entire life. He complains constantly about being on the run, but yet he's the one that says yes to everything. So, but he loves to complain about it. I like that, though. I think I'm going to go with that. He's the most social antisocial I know. I kind of like that. Today's topic, today's blog post, be interesting. You want to be considered interesting, right? Who doesn't? Do you know which people are considered interesting? 1, those who are interested in others. And 2, those who do interesting things. So, along the topic, what have you been doing during quarantine? Have you discovered a new hobby? Have you started sewing to help make masks? Are you baking more often and trying things you've never had before? Trying new recipes for dinner? My husband says one of his favorite things about cooking is making other people happy with his dishes. And they usually are very happy with his dishes. Now, if you have stepped it up, share your goodies. Share them with neighbors, with friends. Drop them off on porches. Not only will they love you for it, but it's an opportunity to get some feedback on the food. Plus, it'll just make you feel good. If the weather ever cooperates, you can go outside and see if there are new activities you may want to try. When was the last time you were on a bike? Has it been forever? Well, get you one. Give it a try. You may be a little wobbly at first, but you know what they say about riding a bike. Riding is one of my favorite things to do. I go all over my neighborhood. I sometimes go as far as a 25-mile ride. It's a great cardio workout. It helps me discover a lot about what is going on in the area I'm riding in, whether it be my neighborhood. Sometimes I go over to the island. It's a great time to think and be in nature. I also love to kayak. If you know anything about me, you know I love boats. And it's the only issue between my husband and I. He does not want one, and I do. Now, as of now, we can't afford to buy and maintain a boat, so he's off the hook. Meanwhile, I beg people for boat rides, and I get out on my own kayak whenever I can. There's just something about being on the water, surrounded by water, that brings me a sense of peace. I love it. Now, I used to rollerblade. I used to really enjoy that. It was fun. But now I'm going to break something. Because, those spills. Wow. We just started playing pickleball in the neighborhood last summer. So hope to plan to pick that up again as well. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be an activity. You can learn new skills by taking online courses, take a history lesson, or read books that expand your world. If you aren't a big reader, I urge you to give it another chance while we are spending so much time at home. Reading can educate you about other ways of life. It can teach you history while also telling an entertaining story. You can see how people across the world live. You can discover how some people in your own backyards grew up in totally different circumstances than you did. I believe reading can make us more empathetic, worldly, appreciative, entertained, and mostly knowledgeable. How about something like calligraphy lessons or knitting, crocheting, or quilting?